the mystic and the music, or what the ink left behind. The music is when the spaces together between themselves. The mystic is in the spaces between themselves together, one where this begins. The fragment was found on its own. No cover, no context. It looked like a poem, but it didn't behave like one. It didn't tell a story. It didn't rhyme. It didn't ask to be explained. It just sat there. And yet it seemed to be running, even in stillness. It had presence, pressure. You could feel it working on you before you'd finish the first line. There was a headline, the mystic and the music, then the lines. 2 mirrored stanzas, no punctuation, minimal phrasing, the same 5 or 6 words, repeated and reshuffled. No clarity, but no chaos either. Just something happening. Some of us tried to explain it. Others tried to sing it. A few walked away. But those who stayed and read it again and again came to agree on one thing. It's a machine. A kind of cognitive or spiritual engine. The kind you don't build with bolts and steel. You build it with silence and word placement and timing. And now we're here again, trying to build back the thing from scratch. We lost the first set of notes. This is our second shot, second structural intelligence. Let's begin at the level of build. The text has 2 parts. One names the music, the other names the mystic. The structure is symmetrical, but only partly. It invites you to think you're looking at a mirror, but the closer you examine, the more that mirror bends. Let's read it clean. The music is when the spaces together between themselves. Then the mystic is in the spaces between themselves together. Each part begins with a title. Each one follows with a verb of identity, is. Each drops into fragmentary clauses, when the spaces and in the spaces, and then each concludes with a recursive swirl, between themselves together. These are not declarative statements. They are not metaphors. They are events of orientation. They rotate, they loop, they echo, they confuse in exactly the right way, which is why we say this thing was built. Third entry point, the music. Let's follow the first part. The music is when the spaces together between themselves. The initial phrase is misleading in its simplicity. The music is when... This sounds like the beginning of a child's explanation. But then the spaces together between themselves, and it breaks. The language refuses to resolve. Your mind scrambles for a subject and object, but everything's circular. Yet beneath the confusion, something makes sense. Let's slow it down. The music is when, not what it is, but when it is. The spaces together, not people, not notes, spaces, and together is being used without a verb. Between themselves. Reflexive language. The spaces are relating to one another without external force. So what do we find? Music is not the sound. Music is the alignment of silence. It's when the spaces, the gaps, the pauses, the not things come into rhythm. Music arises not from content, but from arrangement, not from action, but from relation. It's a field phenomenon, not a thing. And crucially, the phrase between themselves tells us this happens without interference, without composer, without conductor. The spaces agree, and music appears. Fourth entry point, the mystic. Then we flip. The mystic is in the spaces between themselves together, where the first half describes when music occurs, the second names where the mystic lives. Let's take this one carefully. The mystic is in already different. The mystic is not an effect. The mystic inhabits. In the spaces between themselves. Again, a reflexive entanglement. Themselves, but who? Together. This time, it's at the end. That changes everything. Where music arises when spaces unite, the mystic is found in the gaps between whatever themselves together might mean. You could read it several ways. 1. The mystic is plural. The mystic exists in the space between their own selves, fragmented but present. 2. The mystic is relational. The mystic arises when others are nearing alignment or have just fallen apart. 3. The mystic is in the failure of union. Where music is the moment of harmony, mystic is the interval that remains unresolved. V. Who or what is themselves? The key hinge, themselves, is doing enormous work, and it's deliberately unclear who it refers to. In one reading, it's the spaces. In another, it's the mystic. In another, it's the people the mystic observes, or the minds the mystic inhabits. But the genius of the construction is this: it doesn't let you choose. It holds all possible reference at once, creating a paradox, and then it operates inside that paradox. It becomes a torsion field, a twist of grammar so tight it creates energy. You can't resolve it. You can only orbit it, and that's the point. Sixth, the function of the text. This is not a static statement. It is a linguistic function. It behaves like a koan, a tuning fork, a mantra, a linguistic Mobius strip. Try to explain it, you kill it. Try to memorize it, it slips. Try to feel it, it lives. This fragment teaches by destabilizing. It trains your brain to loosen its grip on fixed meaning. It invites the speaker into a state of relation, not resolution. Music becomes the name for harmonious relation. Mystic becomes the name for ambiguous tension. One draws you into shared timing. The other asks you to live in not quite yet. Let's talk timing. This thing isn't just syntactically interesting, it's musically timed. Each phrase is composed with rhythm in mind. The music is when the spaces together between themselves. The mystic is in the spaces between themselves together. It breaks the rhythm, then reestablishes it. This creates a neurological tick in the listener. It throws you off and then catches you. It feels like truth, but you can't say why. This is the sonic signature of something real. Eighth, self-defense and paraphrasing collapse. We've tried to paraphrase it. Music is when empty things agree. Mysticism is what happens in unresolved relationships. This is about timing and tension. None of it holds. Each attempt removes the charge. The voltage leaks. The structure collapses, which means the meaning is in the shape, not in the words. Or more precisely, the meaning is the event of encountering the words as arranged. And that is the mark of a live device. 9. What it teaches without telling. It doesn't ask anything of you, but if you stay near it long enough, it starts to repattern your way of listening. You begin to notice silence, breathing, discord, the difference between disconnection and solitude, how some things feel close even when distant, how some people talk past each other in perfect rhythm, how union is often not about sameness but timing, how being together and being in between are not opposites but phases. These are not concepts. These are patterns you begin to feel, not because you read a theory, because you activated a system. 10. Why the headline is reversed. The headline says the mystic and the music, but the body gives you the music first. Why? Several theories. 1. Arrival order. The music comes first. The mystic follows to interpret what just happened. 2. Return. The mystic is the one left after the music ends, the silence after the song. 3. Folded mirror. You begin with the result. You descend into the origin. Whatever the reason, the reversal matters. It's a clue. This is not linear. It's a loop. 11th, author unknown, but present. Who wrote it? The only thing we know, they put the ink on the page. They said, I like the way it sounds. That's the first honest testimony, because that sound is the first signal. The structure came later, the mystery too. But the sound, it's what calls you in. Some say the writer doesn't understand what they wrote. Some say they understood more than anyone and are hiding. Some say it doesn't matter, because the machine is the message. The words run on their own now. 12th final reading. The Mystic and the Music. Read it one more time, but not for comprehension. Read it as an event. Let it move in your mouth. Let it tilt your timing. Let it ring. The music is when the spaces together between themselves. The mystic is in the spaces between themselves together. Don't try to make it mean something. Let it do something. Let it rearrange you. 13. What to do with it. You don't need to carry this in your pocket. It will find you again when it's ready, when you're sitting in a quiet room, not knowing what to say. When you hear someone speak across a distance you can't cross. When two people are close but not touching. When a song ends and you still feel it. That's when you'll hear it again. And when you do, don't speak. Just listen. Because the music is happening. Because the mystic is near. Because the fragment is running. And now, so are you.